Well, welcome back to another episode of the Cruise Conversations podcast. I'm Frank.
And I'm Michael.
And today's episode is episode number 54, and we're doing our guide to Carnival's Excel class. Let's jump into it.
Well, before we jump into the main topic today, Frank, we got some cruise news here this week to start with. Disney, at the day of recording this, had a pretty big announcement.
This is right off the press right here.
You may be hearing this a week later once this episode comes out, but Disney announced more details about the Disney Adventure.
Yeah, they've got, some really awesome, I wouldn't call it neighborhoods, but Disney is known for kind of, their theming a lot of the times, right, with their amusement parks, theme parks, and what they've put together, it looks incredible.
Yeah, that's right, Frank. Disney's calling them 7 immersive zones found around the ship. So the 7 zones are the Disney Imagination Garden, the Disney Discovery Reef, San Francisco Street from Big Hero 6, Wayfinder Bay, Town Square, Marvel Landing, and Toy Story Place.
Wow.
The crazy thing is many of these different immersive zones on the ship include all different types of movies, right? So Disney Discovery Reef, you're going to be looking at Moana and Luca and Finding Nemo. Obviously, like I said, this San Francisco is Big Hero 6. Marvel is going to be a bunch of Marvel movies.
Toy Story.
Yeah, that's pretty up on the pool deck. The town square seems super cool because it's kind of like they're theming like some of like the different store areas and all that. And I'm sure some of these will have different like bars and lounges too. All of these seem super cool. We've talked about in the past how immersive the current Disney ships already look, right?
Yeah.
And how great the theming is and just stuff around the ship. Now, they're kind of taking it up another level, like we said, kind of following what Royal's done, Carnival's done, Norwegian's kind of done on some of their newer ships, and really starting to heavily theme big areas of the ship around these different places.
It'll be cool to see, if the restaurants and everything are all around, these different areas, and I'm just excited to at some point get on and just experience it, right? Like everyone I've talked to, obviously I've never been on a Disney cruise, but everyone says it's such a different experience.
Yeah.
The service is just next level, especially in the dining room and in the specialty restaurants. It's just incredible what people say in terms of the service. So yeah, I can't imagine just these different zones and how, knowing what Disney can do, like I said, in a park, it seems like it's almost more controlled on a ship, and you're able to actually do a little bit more. So excited to see what they do with it.
Yeah, and the cool thing with this ship, so it is launching out of Singapore. So it's going to be their first ship designed for the Asian market over there. And the thing with this ship is going to be their largest ship. Yeah. This ship was a different brand ship years ago, and then during COVID, they kind of just lost the money to fund the ship and all that, and Disney bought this ship at a massive discount. And for the past couple years since they bought the ship, they've obviously been building and working on, because the ship was already under construction for the old line, but the talk's kind of been it's going to be their biggest ship. What are they going to be looking to do? Anything new? And
here we are.
Like we said, here we are. So it's cool to have some of the starting details and what some of the different movies that are going to be seen around the ship. But yeah, you have to stay tuned over the future months and year or so to see what other restaurants and shows and all that they announce for the ship. Well, Frank, this is the third week in a row we've had some news from Royal Caribbean. This week, not really looking the best.
No.
I've heard a little bit about it, but I haven't really heard what happened. Tell us.
They haven't really said a ton, around whether it's a serious fire that was on Icon. We know that, they did the Bravo, Bravo, Bravo. They were in the port of Costa Maya, and, basically they pretty much halted everything from, people being able to get on and off the ship at the time. But yeah, it was, a fire that was located, we think, down, in near the engine room, and, definitely a concern. This is an LNG powered ship. This is the first one in the fleet for Royal, and then obviously the next one is Utopia that's coming out in the next couple of weeks. But I don't know. We don't know what the cause was. We just know that it wasn't something, super, super serious where there were a ton of people hurt, or, no, the ship is still sailing today, and it's going as normal. Yeah. I think there were a couple people that might have got injured, on the crew from just being down there. But yeah, it's unfortunate. And I've obviously got a cruise plan. I know a lot of people that listen to this podcast might have a cruise coming up on Icon. So just something that, they're probably just still trying to get those kinks out with the new ship, brand new class, new engines for the line. Also, we talked about last week that they're doing shoreside power, which is supposed to start this week. So I don't know. Maybe it's a coincidence. We don't actually know. Like maybe they were trying to test something out or looking at how they're going to, when they get back to Miami, dock and hook up to the Miami power grid, right? Like that's supposed to happen so soon. It may be a coincidence or it may not be that this also happened the same week. So we'll see what they say about it. They may not say anything, but luckily everyone, from the passenger side is safe and the ship is underway. Another big thing that came out this week was the President's Cruise. So it's going to be on Utopia of the Seas next September 22nd. It's going to be on a 4-night cruise. And those are always really fun. Like if anyone's looking to book that, they bring on a lot of the, top leadership from Royal Caribbean. They do a lot of free things on the President's Cruise. So like excursions and parties and things. A lot of times there's a lot more thrown into the cruise fare. Obviously it's going to be jacked up. Like I was looking that week versus, another week. It's totally like almost double what the cost is normally, but it is a fun time. And if you are interested in potentially meeting like influencers and people that do like travel vlogging and things for their job, like they're all going to be probably on the ship. So it's a good way to kind of meet people and talk to people that are really like loyalists for the brand. So not just with Royal, but for other President's Cruises as well. So something interesting. If you're interested in hearing more about that, you can reach out to us. But today we've got a pretty cool topic.
Yeah.
We're talking about, Michael, what are we talking about?
Today we're talking about the Carnival XL class cruise ships. A couple weeks ago we did our guide to a perfect day at Coco Cay, and we were like, I don't know if we're going to necessarily call this a mini series, but there are a couple different cruise ship classes and other topics we kind of want to sprinkle in over these next couple weeks when we don't have guests on or some other topics that are lining up with some of the cruises we have. And we thought this was kind of a cool place to start. I mean, we haven't really talked this class of ship. I mean, we've kind of talked about when Jubilee was released, like some cruise news for that, and just some other, when they ordered a couple new ships in the class a couple months back. But really the only episode we've really done walking through an XL class ship was our 4th episode at the time. And that was my recap of the Carnival celebration, which, I mean, that was a while. I mean, 50 episodes ago.
That's almost a year ago, yeah.
So we're like, well, let's revisit that for the first episode here because, this class is the newest, biggest class for Carnival. And
it's huge. I mean, we talk about how many ships, like I was trying to do some research to make sure I have the latest information. I mean, 9 ships sailing right now, which is ridiculous. I mean, not all of those are Carnival Cruise Line. Some of those are Carnival Corporation, which means P&O. You've got AIDA, right? You've got
Costa. Has some.
So you got a bunch of these brands, right, that own and are operating these underneath Carnival, but that's a lot. I mean, 9 is a big class of ships, and they got 2 more coming. Which is
2 more on the way. I think 2027 and 2028.
It's got to be the largest class of ship out there. I mean,
yeah, because like we said, there are already a lot of these ships sailing. Like we said, there are 2 more on the way. So there's a big chance, like if you're going on a Carnival cruise in the next 4 or 5, probably 10 years or so, that you may be looking at the XL class. So we just kind of wanted to break down the ship today. Last week we went over the Margaritaville at Seas Islander and kind of broke it down between the dining, the activities, entertainment, all of that found on board. So that's kind of what we're looking at doing today. But Frank, first we have the question of the week.
Yeah, so our question of the day today is, what was the name of the first Carnival ship? Yeah, some people are going to know. I think I didn't know until we put this on the list for today. So if you're a Carnival loyalist, you're definitely going to get this. Yeah, we'll see. Let us know if you got it. Write us in. You can send us an email, cruiseconversations@gmail.com. Let us know you got it. Say hello. We love reading those emails. Yeah. Or you can comment on YouTube. Yeah, pretty cool. But hey, before we get into the rest of the content for today, we did want to say we got a lot of things planned. We got a lot of guests coming up.
Yeah.
We're pretty much this week, we went through and planned out all the episodes, like I think until like November.
Yeah, October, November.
So like if you want to, if you have a cruise and you want to come in and talk, like we obviously want to have you, let us know, whatever. Yeah. But we're looking at like mid-November at this point. Like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, like we said, we may move stuff around here and there, but the funny thing is like most of this last year, we kind of go week by week. Maybe we'll get 2 or 3 weeks out at most. But the fact that
we just sat down for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it didn't even really take us that long. And we were like, all right, well, we have all these cruises coming up. Let's plot that stuff in. We have people we still want to bring on to talk their cruises. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be an exciting summer going into fall.
Yeah. We're not slowing down, that's for sure.
No
summer break.
So kind of jumping in to this topic today, right? We're talking, like we said, the XL class, really talking Carnival, right? Like we said, some of the other lines have their subclasses of this, and the ships obviously look different, feel different. But overall, like we said, in the next couple of years, Carnival is going to have 5 of these ships. And I mean, like we said, they're the largest ship. They're not as big as like the Icon class or Oasis class, but they still pack a pretty good sized punch.
I think it's Icon class, Oasis class, and I think there's MSC, and I think this is the 4th like largest.
Yeah, and like we said, it's Carnival's largest, and it was really a big jump up from their last class of ship.
Yeah.
So kind of just go in from the start here. These ships have 6 distinctive zones, right? And the kind of cool thing with their 3 ships so far being the Mardi Gras, Carnival Celebration, and Carnival Jubilee is 4 of the zones remain the same throughout the ships, right? And 2, they kind of have changed the theming up for each specific ship. So like we were talking about with Disney, I love the theming. I love the zone or the neighborhoods that I've experienced on Royal, and then coming over and Carnival doing this. Overall, I mean, the zones make up these ships, right? I mean, these zones that are found all throughout the ship are going to include your different dining venues, your different lounges, some of the venues you've come to know and love on past ships, whether it's the Punchliner Comedy Club or the Piano Bar. So, yeah, I'm excited I think we're going to, like we said, last week we kind of broke it down, dining activities. We're going to do that too, but we're also going to kind of walk through these different zones.
I have some questions for you, but I'm going to save them for the end because I feel like you're our resident Carnival expert. I don't even know what the questions are going to be yet, but I do have a couple preloaded, but then some of them I'm just going to kind of see how you do.
Throw out the hip.
Yeah, throw them out the hip. But I do want to say, you mentioned how all of them, you got 4 that stay the same, 2 that are changing. Yeah. I actually do think that's pretty cool, right? Because I'm more of a Royal guy than a Carnival guy. But for the most part, the Royal Oasis class ships are, you've got your, 8 or 9 now, like neighborhoods, but they're all the same on, they may change restaurants and things like that, but it's not like the zone is different. Like the boardwalk is the boardwalk minus maybe, okay, this one's got playmakers, this one still has, Sabor, like those small things. Like it is really cool that they pretty much are theming, the space differently across the ships, which takes more effort, more energy, more money, more design,
Yeah, and I mean, when we get down to those zones, we'll kind of break those down more. Kind of like you said, a lot of like the food venues and that stuff stay the same. It is more kind of visual and things on the walls and how they decorated. But, based on how it's decorated too can kind of change the vibe. So it'll be cool to kind of get down to those. But I think let's just start at the first one, right? Grand Central.
This is where you walk in, right? This is the first thing you see.
Yeah, right when you walk in the ship, you're on the first floor of Grand Central. Like we said, this is a 3-story center atrium that faces the outside of the ship.
Yep.
So something new, something they had never done before. When you think of a Carnival atrium, it's the center of the ship, but it's kind of a big circle, goes many decks high. Right.
Kind of reminds me of the older Royal Caribbean ships where you've got the elevators, the bar down below, and then. But they did it a lot better. I mean, they have got entertainment that's done right here off of Grand Central, right? Like.
So right when you walk in, kind of to your left or right, depending on where you come in, facing the ocean is this stage, right? And they do some of their playlist production here, which we'll get into a little later. But the cool thing with it being 3 stories high is they're able to send something's kind of flying up in the air, different props that they'll use. And then behind them are like they can use LED screens. And the nice thing is during the day, they can put the screens up and it's just this big glass window. But like we said, this is the central hub of the ship. And in this zone's kind of where you're going to find most of your Carnival classics, right? The Piano Bar 88's here, the Punchliner Comedy Clubs off of Grand Central, and then things like Java Blue for coffee. If you're a kid, or even if you're an adult and want some candy, the Cherry on Top candy shops there. I mean, like I said, this area really at nighttime when we get into the entertainment, that's where this area really comes alive. Now, I will say, the coffee line here can get real long in the morning, so we'll have some tips later at some other places you can find coffee around the ship.
No, that sounds awesome, honestly, on Grand Central, right? I always think of, when you talk about it, or at least what you've told me, I think of like the older Royal Caribbean ships where it's got more of that atrium rather than the promenade, which I think sounds like it's got its pros because you've got more natural light versus like the promenade, on a lot of these ships that I've been on is more of like almost like a shopping mall. There's not really ocean views. So I think that's something that's definitely lacking. And, you can do a lot more with, going off of the atrium sometimes than you can just like a big long hallway, right? So yeah, pretty cool there. So the next one that we wanted to talk about was the Lido, right? So this is pretty standard, across all of the ships, but it is still considered a zone. So you got your main pool deck, you have your Lido marketplace. This is where typically you've got your guys' burgers, there's always food around here, and it's a really happening spot during the day, especially on sea days. If you want to grab chairs, typical things, make sure you get out there nice and early because there's definitely limited seats around the pool decks. But yeah, it's tough to go wrong with a day at the Lido. And obviously you've got the sail away party up here, which is awesome on Carnival. So don't miss that on your Carnival cruise for sure.
Yeah, and then even sometimes in the nighttime too, they do some deck parties here underneath the stars, so that's always super cool.
They're trying to be like Virgin Voyage with like
when I was on Mardi Gras years ago, it was tiki themed.
Okay.
And then I forget what it was on Celebration last year, but also great pool parties. I mean, it's nice just to, like I said, kind of be out under the stars and get that ocean breeze hitting you while you're out there dancing.
Yeah.
And then, Frank, speaking of, doing things a little more adventurous, ocean breeze hitting you in the face, what's our other kind of more outdoor zone here on the ship?
Yeah, so the Ultimate Playground, this is where you got the Bolt roller coaster, which is, that is a big reason why people are booking these cruises, right? Like, you look at, some of these ships, they've always got like that wow factor. For them, it's the Bolt roller coaster, which is really cool. Not many places you can, being able to say that you've been on a roller coaster on a cruise ship, that's pretty awesome. So you got that, of course. You've got your ropes course, your water slides, mini golf. You've got things like foosball, cornhole, just like where you basically go to just like have a good time. If you don't want to be by the water, this is probably where you're going to hang out to do more kind of social activities type things.
Yeah, I've always really enjoyed this zone, right? Like I said, I've done Bolt on both my sailings. The ropes course is always a fun time. Even the water slides, they have like one of the trapdoor slides. Yeah. They have just like a typical body slide. They got one of the mat slides where you go down head first.
Pretty impressive, honestly.
Yeah, I was about to say the fact that you get a wide variety of little slide types there. And then they also can have a splash pad area for the kids also by these water slides. So yeah, kids of all ages will be able to find stuff to do in this area and keep themselves occupied and entertained.
How are the lines on the water slides?
Both times I did the water slides, the lines weren't bad. Now, one of the sailings I did kind of closer to dinner time on a port day, I think. And then on Mardi Gras, I don't remember it ever being too long, but I think it was also I was kind of going at
like off times.
Yeah, off times then.
Because people are talking about Icon right now, and I'm like, if you're gonna go in the middle of a sea day, like it's gonna be the worst time. Like it's open pretty late, so people are saying, go before dinner, go during dinner, like even around that time, because that's when half the ship is eating. You just grab something from the Windjammer and do that. So it's probably the same kind of strategy here is. If you go right in the middle of the day, that's going to be when the wait times are the longest.
What are you hearing wait times at right now?
It could be like 30 minutes during the middle of the day, maybe a little bit longer. But
also makes more sense too, though, because those are like you have the family rafts and like tube slides and all that.
It depends what ride you're. Yeah,
bigger slides than
they take
longer.
On
this ship, these get about to say go.
Body
faster.
Slides are always faster than raft slides. So, but yeah. Michael, what's our last zone that kind of stays the same across all of the Excel class?
So the last zone is the summer landing.
Yep.
This, throughout both my sailings, has become my favorite zone on the ship to spend time at during the day, right? And I even find myself back here in the evening. You got Guy's Pig and Anchor, Smokehouse, and Brewhouse here.
Yeah.
Which inside during the day, they do different types of trivia and other little games, and they'll have a band play here kind of in the evening. And then also in the indoor part of Summer Landing, you got the Heroes Tribute Lounge, which I think is on almost all the Carnival ships now. And here on this ship, the Heroes Tribute Lounge also has the ice cream right there too. So they have a bunch of screens in there to watch different sports kind of in the Heroes Tribute Lounge and Guy's Smokehouse. You have the Brewhouse part of Guy's Smokehouse inside, which, they're brewing their
own beer,
yeah,
right?
Their own beer there at sea. I know you can do on, I think some of the sea days, you can do brew house tours.
Oh, nice.
And I think you get a couple beers included.
Yeah, I think JT was telling me about that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then this zone also goes outside. So it's on the back of the ship. You have a little infinity pool out back there. You got a couple hot tubs on both sides. Plenty of areas to lounge out. You got the watering hole bar out there. So you really, I mean, there's a lot that you can kind of do in this area, right? You got your food, you got your drinks, you got water to get in. And sometimes even during the day they'll have, I think we had like the cornhole competition here, and they'll do some things with the fun squad. But the nice thing here is, especially like day one, not that many people know about this place.
Yeah, you pretty much everyone goes to the Lido, and that's like where they're hanging out, but this is kind of tucked away, right?
Yeah, so that's kind of a good tip. If you're going to be going on the ship, go experience Summer Landing early. Don't wait till later on in your sailing, because the longer in the sailing, the more people start figuring out about this place, and it starts to get more packed overall. And one of my favorite things to do in this zone, they have the tabletop shuffleboard.
Oh, nice.
They got that, and they got some foosball. So I know me and my family, especially after kind of like the shows and comedy in the evening, one of the zones next to it is where the pizza is. We'd get the pizza, kind of go walk over there and play those games for an hour or so. But yeah, like I said, it's my favorite zone on the ship.
Yeah,
and
it's
you
awesome.
should definitely check it out, because like I said, whether it's daytime, nighttime, you can find stuff to do there.
No, Michael, I mean, that sounds awesome. Summer Landing. I mean, this seems like it'd be my kind of spot. More kind of adults, not adults only, but seems like it's more of an adults playground. And I think I like that. So now let's talk a little bit more about the areas of the ship that do change, right? So on Mardi Gras, you got La Piazza, which is the Italian kind of zone, right? You've got 820 Biscayne, which is Miami themed, and then you have the Shores, which is kind of beachy kind of themed, right? Almost like California beach club vibes. You know, this area, again, it's on the same part of the ship. It's themed differently across each of the ships. And what's really cool is they've got the Cucina del Capitano here. They have the pizza restaurant, which also kind of serves sandwiches and, you know, different kind of things you can grab and go there. They've also got a really cool like indoor-outdoor bar space. Yeah. The names change across all three ships. And it's also worth mentioning that if you do have to go to guest services, it is really close to this zone. So yeah, pretty awesome. And I think it's really cool that if you do go on Mardi Gras, you get kind of a complete different experience than if you were to go on Celebration, for instance.
Yeah. And one last thing here to point out in this zone, I forgot to talk to you about it, Rudy Sea Grill, which is going to be one of the upcharge specialty restaurants. That's also in this area. Haven't had it yet. I need to do it on a future sailing.
Your specialty dining, it's lacking.
And then the last part of the ship, the last zones, you know, this is going to be right off of Grand Central, right? You have on the Mardi Gras, it's the French Quarter. On Celebration, the Gateway, which is all themed around travel. And then Currents, which was like an underwater-ish theme zone.
This one looks so cool.
On Jubilee, yeah. And this part of the ship's kind of probably my favorite zones overall for like inside the ship. And I'd say overall, like these three zones are kind of some of my favorite areas for some of my favorite bars we're going to talk about in a little, and kind of just the theming overall. The French Quarter is obviously New Orleans themed, and you have the Fortune Teller bar, and it's darker, right? And then you go on Celebration and do the Gateway, and it's, like I said, all themed around travel. It's brighter. The bar that was all darker and more mysterious on Mardi Gras is now feels like an airport bar, right? And you have the ticker travel signs that go, and drinks from all around the world. And then on Celebration and Jubilee, they started adding like the virtual panels, right?
Yeah.
So they look like on Celebration, it looks like you're traveling, right? You could be in a different country each night, and it helps them match the drinks at the bar, like specialty drinks there. And also this part of the ship's where Emerald's Bistro is. Yep. And on Celebration, they would match the whatever country they were in on there with the food and Emeralds. So super neat. And then on Jubilee, like I said, it's Currents, it's underwater. So now all of those little panels look like you're underwater. I think they show fish and octopus and all that. And I think there's actually a little area where people they can go and like click some buttons to change what's on there. So it's definitely
very interactive theming.
The theming's great here. Like I said, each one has a couple different bars. The Alchemy bar is actually on the second story here on this part of the ship. But yeah, so that's going to kind of wrap up the zones, right? And like
that was a lot. I mean, I feel like we spent a lot of time on the zones because they are so, unique to Carnival, right? It's pretty cool what they've got going on here. But it's tough to go on a cruise and not think about food.
That's right.
So we got to move on to food. I mean, I feel like food on a Carnival ship is probably one of the main attractions, right? Like, especially when it comes to free food. You've got Blue Iguana. I mean, obviously you can't miss out on the breakfast. It's so good. You've got Shaq's Big Chicken, Guy's Burgers. You've got the Pig and Anchor Barbecue. I mean, there's a lot of options. Street Eats, Chibang, which is the Mexican and Chinese fusion. This is the one that they weren't planning on, continuing to do for free, right? And then they decided that with this class, they were going to, because they created the smaller dining room, they were going to also offer this one. And then you got Cucina del Capitano. You've got the Lido Deck dining room. But that's a lot. That's a lot of free options.
That's the thing. You got plenty of free options here on the ship, Frank, where you could eat something different every single day of your cruise for lunch and probably not have to touch the same thing twice. Now, like you said, plenty of great options here. Guy's Burgers is a classic. Shaq's Big Chicken was new to this class of ship. Street Eats, that's been one of my favorites because, like you said, smaller plates, little. You can try a couple different things.
What's your favorite of the free options? I told you I'm going to drop questions on you.
Probably Street Eats on this class of ship. And I think that's kind of also due to the fact that you can only get it on those ships. And I can go on any other Carnival ship and get a Guy's Burger. I know it's going to be great. But yeah, I think since that's specific to this ship, that'd kind of be one of my top things. But also, let's kind of talk about dinner time, right? Before we even get to specialty options, like you said, you got the dining room, you got Chibang and Cucina. Yeah, like you said, Frank, initially they were saying just like the inaugural season, Chibang, Cucina, Pig and Anchor for dinner were going to be included. But like you just said, with the dining room being smaller, they realized, now we're still going to have to disperse the crowd a little between these different places. It's going to continue to be free for now. But we're kind of at this point where, it's still free on Mardi Gras, still free on Celebration, Jubilee. But they limit you now, I think, I don't know if Pig and Anchor is included with this, but I know Chibang and Cucina, you get free once, right? You get a night free there. And then I think if you want to go back, it's legit like $5 to go back there per person. So not terrible because, like I said, both have great food.
They're just probably trying to manage the demand a little bit, right?
And they want to make sure they can get everybody into those restaurants too versus being stuck at the main dining room all week. But the nice thing here, a good tip here, is if you do the My Time dining, right? Carnival has a great app, and one of my favorite things with the app is you can check in for dinner. So when the dining room's open, you can go on the app. If you have My Time, you can actually eat at Chibang and Cucina whenever, right? Whereas if you have an earlier or late seating, I don't think you can go to those two till after 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Or 7, 8 o'clock. So
that's a big reason to get My Time.
And that's the thing. I've never had any issues with My Time. I like it. And like you said, the nice thing is you can check in right on the phone. It'll tell you, 15, 20-minute wait. And then it'll legit tell you your table number. So when you get to the restaurant, you legit just show them your phone and they know what table to bring you to.
That is something that it's not like a hard thing to develop, but like other cruise lines don't have it. And that is something that they're definitely, that distinguishes Carnival from the other cruise lines. So now let's move on to specialty dining, right? So you've got Emerald's Bistro, Rudy's Sea Grill, Bonsai, Sushi, and Teppanyaki, and Fahrenheit 555 are the main ones across all three cruise ships.
Yeah.
Michael, which one's your favorite out of this list?
Yeah, so like you said, Frank, my specialty dining kind of lacks here a little.
It does.
But my favorite on this class of ships, Emerald's Bistro, right? Okay. And Tara and I had it literally, I think, one of the last mornings for breakfast on Celebration. And I got a Creole shrimp omelet with sweet potato fries. Chef's kiss. If I knew it was going to be that good, I would have probably had most of the breakfasts there because it was.
How much was it for breakfast?
I think like $7.
Okay, that's not bad.
So yeah, here it's this restaurant's a la carte, so you kind of just choose what you want. Obviously, the other ones you're paying an upfront cost. This is kind of where I think the nice thing with Royal is the dining packages, right? So you can pay a cheaper cost up front and try multiple. I've never really seen that on Carnival at all with any of these. I think most of them you just, like I said, you just pay individually per restaurant. Like I said, I've heard great things about Rudy's Sea Grill. I really wanted to try that last time, but we couldn't fit it in. And I've also never eaten at the steakhouse on any Carnival ship. So
interesting.
Or any Royal ship.
We got to get you in the Shop's Grill, boy.
I think what you see between the included dining and specialty dining is it's a wide variety of food options, right?
Yeah.
You have your Mexican, you got your Italian, you got your seafood.
Chinese plus Mexican.
Chinese plus Mexican.
Japanese.
The burgers, the chicken sandwiches.
There's so much.
So that's the thing. There's really so many options that even if you have a picky eater with you, they're going to be able to find something to eat. And we didn't even touch the dining room. And you have the main dining room here on the ship. There's 2 of them on all 3 ships. And have, like I said, just the standard classic kind of Carnival menu there. And yeah, I mean, I found myself in there multiple times too throughout the sailing. If we weren't at Chibang or Cucina, we had some great meals in the main dining room. I think one is a 2-story dining room. One's just a little 1-story dining room. But yeah, I mean, that kind of wraps up food. Like we said, there's a lot to it. And if you do like all different types of food, you can't go wrong with these ships.
So now let's move on to activities, right? So we've kind of already talked about a few of these. You've got Bolt.
Yeah.
You've got Sports Square ropes, the water slides, of course, all of the activities on Summer Landing. And then you've also got Kids Club. So those are kind of we're not going to spend too much time here, but those are the kind of the main activities that you do have on board, an Excel class ship.
Yeah, and then outside of that too, you got your trivia during the day. You got the poolside activities and games. You got, the fun squad always kind of has things planned all throughout the day, all day, every day.
Yeah,
really. These
are just kind of like the more like built up areas, I would say that have the activities, but there's a lot of things like you mentioned that are more of like gathering people together, right?
Yeah. Now, like we always say, after dinner, you got some entertainment, right? You got some shows to go see in the evening. And this ship, too, it has a good amount to keep you occupied, really, most of the night. You got your kind of the game shows they do, a Family Feud and Deal or No Deal. The Deal or No Deal, you actually get to participate in and play with your own card.
You said you won some?
Yeah, we won some money last cruise on Celebration. And Family Feud, it's legit on this ship. They have the full kind of Family Feud set they put on the main theater stage, but they do like auditions for this.
Oh my.
And these are like auditions in front of people, like out on the little stage in Grand Central and like on a sea day or like the first couple days of the ship.
So
they'll
it's
have families up there playing against each other, yeah. And then, like I said, the evenings where they do it in the theater, it's all put together.
They still do like the love and marriage, like
yeah, love and marriage. I think last sailing for me was during the day, maybe like on a sea day or something. But you got your love is marriage. You got all the playlist productions they're doing in the main theater, and then also, like I said, that side theater. Like I said, that it gave them the opportunity to do more with like acrobatic type stuff and that which you can't always do in the main theater, because the main theater on this ship, it's not like your standard like balcony level main floor level theater. It kind of, most everybody comes in from the top and it's almost kind of slopes down.
Like a gradual.
Exactly, yeah. So
do they have any theaters in Carnival that are like 2 stories?
Some of the older ships,
okay.
have that. This was kind of the first kind of big change at them.
Okay, but that's probably because they're just trying to use other venues and, to your point, like use some of the spaces that they have.
And that's the thing with that side stage now too. Some of like the main shows actually happen out there.
Okay,
and like we said, that one is 3 stories tall, so you have plenty of seating. Now, a tip with that though, the evening entertainment in Grand Central and on that side stage, you're gonna want to get there early because some of these shows
you might be standing.
Well, you may be standing, but the way, especially if you're on that first floor, the front part, right, can see up all the stories and see everything going on. If you get further back, you have now the roof.
Yep. Above the floor's above you, basically blocking.
The floor's above you blocking, and there's some TVs and stuff back there. But if you get so far back, you're not going to see much. So, like we said, get there early for that. And then the last type of entertainment, which is big on Carnival ships, the Punchliner Comedy Club. This is going on every night, multiple times a night. Here in the Punchliner Comedy is where they do most of their 18-plus shows. And then in their what they call their Limelight Lounge is where they kind of do kind of the more family-friendly PG shows. I think they do some even shows like during the day.
And those are the ones that you like, right?
I don't think I've actually... I may have seen one, honestly, but I prefer the
adult. Okay.
Yeah, the adult ones. And then kind of the cool thing they were doing on both sailings I've done so far is kind of every other day they do a late night comedy in the main theater and combine the acts.
Oh, nice.
So one would kind of come out, do a shorter set, and then the other would come out and do their set. And one thing you always hear with the comedy too is a lot of people say they're like, oh, like the Punchline or Comedy Club isn't big enough,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, why don't they just do all the comedy in the main theater?
But the vibe, like
Exactly right. You think of comedy clubs, and they're smaller, they're more intimate.
Yeah.
And that's why, I mean, here too, if you want to get a seat, make sure you show up early because there
I feel
will
like
be a
as a
little bit of a line.
comedian too, like it's different performing on a stage and like an auditorium versus you're in a room and someone does something like a small room and someone does something kind of dumb. You can easily
pick up on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you can see it and like make fun of them versus just like the front row in a massive theater that like
Yeah, because and that's the thing. Even like the late night comedy, it's popular, but I mean, it's not even half the theater full. I don't think, because like I said, that would start I think like 11:30 at night. So you only have the people that really want to be there up. But like you said, it's kind of just the vibe overall. So yeah, check that out. And the Piano Bar is also here, another great spot to listen to music, have some drinks throughout the evening.
Speaking of drinks,
we got some bars around the ship.
A lot of bars.
You wanted to ask me about some of my favorite ones, right?
Yeah, favorite bars. Let's go, Michael. I've heard you talk about the Fortune Teller right on Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
Alchemy Bar you've mentioned, the Golden Jubilee. You know, there's tons of options.
Yeah.
What's your favorite one?
Oh man, my favorite one. I think the one I've probably had the most drinks from is the Alchemy Bar.
Why?
Great pre-dinner.
Okay.
Drink place, right? I know on Celebration, while Tara and I, we'd get dressed, and then while we were waiting for my family, we would go to Alchemy, grab a drink there.
Nice.
The nights often ended at the Golden Jubilee, right? This bar is between Grand Central and the start of the Zone. Great. They had smoked old fashions there on
nice.
Celebration, so that was real popular between all of us. And then I really, during the day, Tara and I liked the Guys Bar and the Smokehouse because they would do like a spicy marg type thing, but it was real light and refreshing. So yeah, plenty of different drink options. And I don't even think we talked about the Lido deck also is a 2-story tiki bar out there. So if you want any rum-based drink or frozen drink, you got that out there right by the pool.
They got people coming around to serve you, and you don't have to leave your seat, which is so nice.
No.
So what about some other areas around the ship, right? So we haven't talked about, the Havana section, Loft 19, the Serenity Pool. Those are pretty, also pretty big areas of the ship that, you don't want to forget, right? Yeah,
that's the thing. All three of these areas left are kind of, like you said, the bigger areas outside of like the main zones. The Havana section, I will say a tip here, is it overall, the amenities that come with it are smaller on this ship. Whereas on some of the other ships, you got a pool and some hot tubs off the back of the ship.
Yeah.
Here, the deck kind of wraps around, right? Wraps around some of the... They're not balconies, but they have like little front porch almost type thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But out there, they have like a smaller little pool, and I will say it's tiny. There's not much to it. Most people will kind of say if you're interested, like if the Havana section and experience is what you really want, because like you said, on some of the other ships, you have your own private pool deck, own private bar, all of that. I would probably look at a different ship unless, like I said, you just really want to do it.
Yeah.
Moving into Loft 19, yeah, this is an upcharge area. This is not cheap. It's above the Serenity area, so it's above the adults only, and it's your cabanas. They got their own pool up there. Someone coming around and doing drinks and all that. Much more kind of like the Serenity, laid back, relaxed. I don't think you're really gonna see kids running around there. I know both of my sailings I've done is when the ship was. I mean, Mardi Gras, I was on it in the first couple months, and this area really hadn't taken off yet. Because like you said, it does come at a premium. This is kind of like the casitas and stuff you can rent around an Oasis class ship. It's kind of like that, but all together. And then the Serenity area, that's a great area too. Has its own pool, bar area, a build-your-own salad station. So for people who want to be a little healthier on a sea day, you can go make a great salad there. But yeah, that kind of...
I think that's everything on the ship for the most part. A lot of space to hang out. Pretty much something for everyone on board an XL class. Now, Michael, I feel like you have a lot of experience, right? Most people don't get to try, 2 out of 3 of these ships. Give us some of I know you've kind of sprinkled some in, but if there's anything left, give us some of your tips and tricks, like what would you do? What do you recommend based on some of the things that you've learned, maybe some of the mistakes you made? What would you kind of recommend for those that are going on board or planning a trip for the XL class?
Yeah, like you said, Frank, some of these are kind of just sprinkled in throughout the episode. I kind of wanted to talk about them at the end, but I was like, yeah, it kind of fits in perfect here. So like I said, the app's great for My Time Dining. If you book My Time Dining, like I said, you're getting Chi Bang and Cucina earlier, so a big plus to choose My Time. Summer Landing, like I said, being less crowded earlier in the cruise. Like I said, make sure you go find yourselves down there. One I didn't talk about when you were talking about the Ultimate Playground with Bolt is if you're interested in doing Bolt, this was something I'd probably also do earlier in the sailing because it can close due to wind. So
just get it done. Yeah,
I'm about to say, yeah. For most people, I feel like it's a one and done thing. I think it's still $15 for 2 laps around, but I'd hate for it to be like your last
day.
Yeah. You're sailing back up to Miami or Canaveral, and then it's too windy out and it's closed all day. Like you said, those are just some of the tips that came to my mind.
What about booking shows and making sure you get there, getting a seat, right? So I know like the Punchliner, don't you have to make reservations for that?
Yes, the thing with Carnival and their entertainment, Frank, is you don't book any of it. So some people may see this as a plus. Some people who are good at booking stuff and like to have it all out and know they're getting a spot may not like this as much. But like you said, like some of the venues like the Punchliner or the Grand Central Stage area, I'd recommend getting there a little bit early. Go grab a drink at the bar there and hang in line. But yeah, no, there's no booking overall for any.
Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit about who the Excel class is great for, right? Because it's not for everyone, but it does cover, a big chunk of people with what we're going to say here. So the first one is, I think, families that are looking for fun, right? Looking to be entertained, not just for the kids, but for the adults too, right? We talked about the different, venues and shows and game shows and everything. It's a fun time, not just for the kids. The kids are going to have a great time in the kids club with Bolt, with the ropes course, but the adults are going to have a great time with the sail away party and all the different things going on for adults. So if you're looking for a good time, I feel like this is probably one of the top. Like if you come to us and you're like, hey, we want to have a really fun cruise, this is probably where we're going to, not just because it's called the Fun Chips, but, they really are. I mean, it's true. They do. That's what they focus on.
Yeah, I was about to say, they lean into it. Their whole, like I said, they call them the Fun Squad. Their whole staff that put on all the activities, they really lean into, like you said, having fun right from sail away all the way to the end of the cruise. The next thing would be people who are looking for a lot of free included food options around the ship. Because like you said, you read off that list and you just kept going and going.
It's a lot.
I know. And this is something where when we've talked, Royal's gotten better at over the years, especially on Icon, a bunch of the new free stuff there. But I think going from the first time I did Harmony with you was my first Oasis class ship. And I think that was just really the one thing that kind of separated the two lines from me was on Harmony. I mean, you had your buffet, your main dining room, the hot dogs, pizza. But outside of that, there weren't as much included stuff like you get here in Carnival. So like I said, if you like food and you like all different types of cuisine, you'll find it here on these ships.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And then the last one that I had was, if you really liked themed bars and cocktail menus, I feel like Carnival does a great job with that. Not to bash any other cruise line, but I do think that Carnival has been around. They've been doing this longer than most when it comes to, really designing their bars well and theming their cocktails just around what is the venue, what's the topic, what's the theme. So if you are into that, which I am, this is probably for you. But Michael,
Frank,
is the Excel class your favorite class of ships?
I would probably say so.
Yeah.
I need to get back on. I'd love to get back on Wonder, Utopia, or something soon. Because like I said, there are some things that stand out on those ships too that I like.
And that may be a future episode. Maybe we'll do an Oasis. If you guys enjoyed this one and you want to hear more guides, this is our 2024 guide to the Excel class. Maybe we'll have to drop one for the Oasis class. Yeah. Obviously the Icon class in the future, but let us know if you've enjoyed this. I don't think I have any other questions. Michael, you did a great job. This was super fun. I enjoyed this. One more thing I do want to add is around price. So if you're wondering what this would cost, I did crunch some numbers earlier. So without any discounts for your loyalty or resident discounts, it's around $100 per person per day is the cheapest that you can really get for an interior. Now, if you do have some casino, benefits and all that, they'll knock some of that off. But around $1,400 for 7 nights for 2, which is a pretty good price. When you look at like what comes with it, pretty much anything you can eat. There's a lot of upcharge for specialty, but you don't even have to do, to your point, like you haven't done a lot of specialty, so you can eat so many restaurants right around $100 a day, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I will say the one thing I am jealous now with Utopia coming out is the fact that it's doing those shorter sailings, because all 3 of these right now are still a week long.
Yep.
Or I think some of them occasionally do a 6-dayer, but that's another thing with these new ships in the future. Maybe we'll see one of these older ones, or maybe even one of the newer ones coming out, flip to the shorter sailings. Well, before we wrap up here, Frank, we got the question of the week.
What is the name of the first Carnival cruise ship?
Oh, you do your drum roll. You were mad I didn't let you do it last week.
I'm trying to do it on my knees, but also into the microphone.
Yeah. It was actually the TSS Mardi Gras.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it goes pretty good with the topic today.
Exactly. That's why I chose it, Frank.
Yeah. Nicely done. Nicely done. So did they have any like cool kind of Easter eggs that kind of go back to the original Mardi Gras?
I forget on the Mardi Gras itself. On the celebration, since it was their 50th anniversary, some of the bars have Easter eggs built into that. So some legit like doors from the older ships to
that's pretty
little
cool.
Tabletops to pictures on the wall and all that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, super cool to just kind of, like you said, pay some homage to the past ships throughout its history. Well, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of the Cruise Conversations podcast. As always, if you have any questions for the podcast or have any questions regarding anything we talked today with the XL class, DM us on Instagram, fill out the question and answer box underneath this episode. We'd love to answer it on a future episode for you. And if you're ready to book your next cruise, we'd love to help you with the booking process. Frank, what's the number they can text us at?
704-313-8556.
Perfect. Yeah, you can text us at that number, or you can email us on cruiseconversations@gmail.com, or fill out the Jot form link in our bio. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday.
Happy 4th of July.